Learning bullet point delivery is the fastest way to start growing your improv speaking skills. You know that in planned situations, it cuts content creation time in half while massively increasing your connection with your audience. So you tried it out, but you rambled, you forgot critical points, and you lost too much time re-recording lines that you know you should have been able to nail the first time. Don't worry, you are on the right track. I'll show you how to make it fast and easy. First, I'm going to show you the general skills for delivering bullet points in live situations, where you only get one take. Then I'll share specific skills for recording bullet point videos so that you sound natural, save time, and actually feel relaxed enough to start enjoying this. Let's start with delivering bullet points live, like in a webinar or on stage. You might think, whoa, that's the hardest situation there is. Why are we starting there? The important thing to know right away is that when we deliver something live, the bar people have for us is different. It's the conversational bar, which is lower. If you've ever done voice transcription on your phone, made a mistake, and corrected yourself, it automatically squished it down to a perfect looking text. That's what our brains are doing constantly when we have a conversation face to face. You know, we have this feeling that you could ask for questions or clarification if you didn't understand, so we get really comfortable with larger and larger leaps or covering for mistakes. We don't even notice it's happening. This makes live bullet points the best place for beginning your learning. You can get a lot more reps in without having to worry about retakes or editing. So how do we learn live bullet points? First thing, don't go cold turkey. Leaping from word for word, which you're used to a really sparse bullet point script, it's going to be hard, but it's also going to be a slower way to learn. The smaller increments you can make this change, the faster your total learning is going to be. So start off, keep your introduction word for word. It's highly critical. You're going to feel a lot better having that nailed word for word. Then the segments of your body, these, I even still keep the transition in and the transition out, the setup and payoff for each segment word for word. Then I'm adding bullet points into the body. That's fewer things for you to juggle all at once, and it's working out really well. A little extra tip is if you're making a bullet point and you feel, I don't know, this looks right, but I'm a little nervous that I might forget exactly all the parts I need to say, I write the first half, put a dash, and then put the second half, a little bit more verbose. Whenever I do this, it turns out that comfort of knowing I have a safety net makes me get it right off the small part the first time, which again is speeding up my learning and my comfort, just as essential. This starts you building the skill of bullet point delivery, and it'll accelerate when you're just living your life after you've cracked open this door. The next one, get practice when you're having conversations with your friends. This is the best tip I got from Matthew Dix, and it is validating to have someone say the best way to write is to talk. Don't go out and regale people with a full speech, but take one segment from the presentation you're working on and bring it up in normal conversation. You'll get some practice how you explain it and how you deliver it. You'll see people's reactions. But most importantly, by doing this, you're going to get clarity on exactly what you're trying to say, what you need to start with and end, and the things you don't actually need. When you get back and look at what you had written, you're going to find, I could do that with fewer words. I can actually have less of a safety net now. Speaking of where you're coming from and where you're going to, the biggest step, framing. People hate doing this the first time. I hated it doing the first time, but it saves you so much time and makes the quality so much better. It is heaven after you do it. If you're not familiar, framing is getting really clear on what you're saying, why you're saying it, what does it mean to your audience. If it doesn't mean something to your audience, it's just fan fiction for yourself, and you don't need to inflict that on other people. You might already be doing this. If you're writing word for word scripts, you've probably already been taught, do your framing step before you write your script. The change you're going to make for bullet point delivery is you're going to also do framing for each segment. You'll be really surprised how much additional clarity there is to get in each segment that you thought you already had, but wasn't there until you started framing each part. This clarity is what kills your rambling. So much better. And when we're focusing on just what matters, you don't have to think about how it's being said. That'll come out naturally on the fly when you're speaking with bullet points. as long as you nail the destination that we're going to end up with. A bullet point delivery, it's like a relay race. And if you don't end up in the right space, you're not there for the next person to pick up the baton and keep going to the next segment. This will get you improving fast, and your personality will start to come through. Now that you can do live bullet point delivery, there's a couple video-specific skills that will save you a lot of pain and time when you're recording from bullet points. First step, you're still going to be recording from a teleprompter, but you're going to notice, hey, like the voice sync that caused it to scroll automatically, it doesn't work because you're missing a lot of words. This is both the problem, but it's also the solution to something even bigger. You need to fit all of your bullet points on one screen. If you feel, oh crap, like I have too many bullet points, this isn't gonna fit, this isn't working, what are we doing wrong? Ethan lied to me. Your segments should be short. The ideal is at max 2 minutes long. Ideally, 1 minute is a lot better. So if you have so many bullet points that it's not fitting on one screen, this is your warning sign that your segments need to be shorter. This is a bigger problem that we're not going to cover here, but having it short enough to fit on one screen will help you with your retention, it'll help people care, and it's going to get your clarity on what you're saying really, really sharp. It improves your message. So if you don't fit on the screen, do your framing for that segment again, and you're going to find it gets shorter, it gets clearer, and it feels more powerful. Now into recording, you'll immediately find that you feel, oh crap, I have to live up to a higher bar now. That perfectionism demon is going to come back and hit you harder. But remember, the perfectionism of word for word is literally what made you so robotic that it cut out all the connection with your audience. Don't try to live up to perfection. You're going to have to be okay with a little bit of wobbliness in order to get the huge benefits of personality and connection. Then inevitably, when you're recording, there'll be mistakes and you're going to re-record some parts. When you repeat yourself, repeat at least half a segment. Not that word you messed up, not that line, half a segment. This will save you a ton of time in the editing stage later on. Also, commit to always keeping the last take you made. This might mean you retake a few more times than you normally would, but just don't stress out, don't be hard on yourself. These extra reps are actually giving you practice for the advanced skill of full improv speaking. So it's useful, don't worry about it, it's gonna pay off. This also is going to be the biggest lever that saves you time in the editing, which makes this whole process worthwhile. Then take that recording, put it into an editor that has voice transcription, and go through and keep all of the final takes you've made. You don't even have to spend time listening to the other ones, which is a laborious, slow process. You're guaranteed a good quality take on every single part without missing anything. Admire how fast you got it done while humbly thinking, hey, that sounds pretty good. Now that you have bullet point delivery working for you, the next step is to extend this power to unplanned situations, the full mastery of improv speaking. So watch this video on improv speaking frameworks so you can sound your best anywhere, anytime.